Hello, Minnesota Paralegals. My name is Tina Johnson, and I'm your certification ambassador and have been holding this role for over 10 years because paralegal certification is my deepest passion in being a paralegal. And I want to share with you all the details of why I encourage and cheerlead for the certification exams. During this presentation, we're going to go over who qualifies for each of the exams, what are the exams all about, the details concerning the exam process, the exams themselves, and how to study, why these exams are different from other certification exams offered in the nation. Again, what are the exams like? Why you should become and take the PACE or the PCCE exam to become an RP or CRP. What steps you take to begin the journey towards paralegal certification. And then we're going to go through some of the myths and try to debunk them, because if you prepare, you will pass and get the credential you so want. And then we'll also finish with 10 sample questions so you can get used to how the exam questions are laid out and how to pick the best answer that would apply in all scenarios across the board. I would like to start this presentation by giving you some motivation. As you can see, there's a few quotes, one of which is my very own, but one of the original RPs when this exam was created for the PACE exam was by Ann Price, and she said the single most important resource a PACE candidate can take into the test facility is the desire to become an RP. That's so true, because these exams are voluntary and it's a choice that you make to become a certified paralegal. And then you'll see my quote there: I'm always searching for ways to stand out and to be the best paralegal I can be. And that's why I cheerlead and promote these exams. So what do you need to know about the PACE exam? PACE is the exam for the experienced paralegal who's been in the career for a very long time. First of all, it doesn't test your rote knowledge, meaning your basic knowledge of being a paralegal. It's looking at your critical thinking and problem-solving skills. This test also tests on federal law. It's not state-specific, so that's the beauty of the NFPA exams, is that they're national, and so if you were to get a job out of state, you would carry this credential with you wherever you go. And then finally, it's thinking big picture, planning ahead, knowing what and anticipating what will happen for your case and your client down the road, and planning for it to benefit your client and the attorney that you work for. So what else can I tell you about the PACE exam? Well, let's see. The test questions are complex because you're using your analytical thinking skills. They'll involve a certain situation with legal issues, and remember, it's federal law, and so you need to problem solve in order to select the best answer. Some of these questions on the exam can be in one or more practice area, but they're really focusing on a general principle, a legal principle. So a common aspect of each area of law may be within a question. And another way to plan and study for this exam is to understand how the questions are laid out. They're multiple choice questions. There's always 4 options. You're going to have one distractor, one that's completely off base, and you might have 2 that may work, but what you're looking for is the best answer that would work in all scenarios based on the situation outlined in the question. And finally, we always recommend that you read each question very carefully and completely, because there'll be certain words, certain triggers that will help you lead you in the way of how you want to answer and how to pick the best answer from the multiple choice questions. So what are the questions like that are on the PACE exam? Well, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. They're multiple choice questions and there's only one best answer. There's one of those darn distractors. There are none of the above or all of the above options on the PACE exam itself. And again, if you read the question completely and very carefully to figure out what you're being asked, your analytical thinking skills, you will be able to itemize and figure out which of the 4 multiple choice questions is the best question to get you a passing score. Believe me. And here we go. We're going to continue looking at how the questions are structured. Each question prepared was created using a very specific scientific formula by experts in the field. Again, read each question and all the options very carefully and beware of those distractors. There may be other alternative questions, like I said, that may seem like it would be correct, but it has nothing to do with the question that is being asked in the PACE exam question. So it's important to look at that. And then again, here we go. Be careful to think the big picture on federal law area. So what does the PACE test cover? There are 5 domains on the PACE and in the PACE manual that include the administration of legal matters, the development of client legal matters, factual and legal research and writing, and then office administration. And of course, you can't forget about ethics. We as paralegals are guided by ethics, being supervised by attorneys. And then there will be questions on technology in the legal field, as well as our lovely terminology, all the legal words, the Latin words that we use and see when we practice as paralegals in our fields. The exam also dives into specialty areas of law that would include IP law, bankruptcy, family law, real estate, wills and estates and trusts, which is what I am an expert at, corporate law, contracts. So let's go over the first domain, which is administration of client legal matters. And I know all of my friends and colleagues that are paralegals, you do this every day, which includes conflicts checks, developing, organizing, and maintaining your client file, whether it's a physical file, the old school way with paper, or your electronic filing. Developing a tickler or reminder system so that you don't miss those dreaded deadlines, especially like for me, the tax deadline. Developing and maintaining your client database, and that's part of the client files. And then coordinating events, activities, and services related to the client matter, which could be the the certain documents that you draft to the way you communicate with your client, etc. Now we're going to review the development of your client legal file. Oftentimes, the paralegal is the one doing the initial interview or sitting in on the initial meeting with the clients and the attorney. You're analyzing and gathering the facts that you've obtained from meeting with the client and getting them organized for your file. You're often the main point of contact for your clients, and you're the liaison between the client and the attorney and vice versa, because oftentimes the paralegal is not as busy or in meetings as attorneys are, and paralegals' billing rates are lower typically, so they always tell the clients, call my paralegal. Of course, paralegals prepare and draft pleadings and other court documentation. You then take that document and you serve it, or e-file it and e-serve it, or personal service. And then finally, you're working with your attorneys, your clients, any witnesses, experts, and others to keep them updated on the events of the case, the filing deadlines, the hearing deadlines, etc. Now, as we move on to the factual and legal research and legal writing, do all the things that we love to do as paralegals. So, let's see. First, research involves obtaining factual and other legal types of information and knowing the resources that you use to obtain the proper backup when you're doing your legal research for a case. You go and you investigate and you find case law in the different resources that will support your case. Legal research involves inspecting and evaluating the evidence and other information, the key points in your case through case law and statutory law. You go over the legal authority, so primary or secondary authority, and how it may apply to your client's case. And then paralegals are always validating and updating legal research for the file. Now we're going to move on to legal writing. That's all the writing that you do, whether it's via correspondence, via email, telephone call, how you prepare your legal documentation and pleadings, or memorandums of law when you're doing legal research, when you're going to go to district court or appeal at the appellate level, and so forth. Now we're going to dive into the last and final domain in the PACE study manual, which is on office administration. And if you work in a law office, this is all going to be familiar to you, and it kind of is the basis of what we do as paralegals. So we work interpersonal skills with our coworkers, with clients, or maybe even mentoring another paralegal in your office, which is what I do sometimes. Using the proper technology, the programs and materials, resources for your area of law that will help you in your career. Coordinating and working with vendors, like when we were trying to set up new tax software for our office, and we're a small law office, so we're looking at the other various vendors out there that offer tax programs. Creating a library of resources, so updating templates that you may use often for the work that you do, or a CLE presentation inventory, so everyone can learn and grow as a paralegal. And of course, you got your billing systems and entering time as a billable paralegal, and just the overall management of your workflow. Trying to find that workflow balance. Now we're going to review What is covered on the PCCE test exam? The PCCE exam is for the early career paralegal and sometimes is used as an exit exam in a paralegal program. So the trend is using that AOL program that NFPA has, which is Assurance of Learning. They make connections with the early career paralegal in their program, and they set it as an exit exam to see how valuable and knowledgeable that paralegal is going through the program. The PCCE exam has two domains, as you see. One is on the paralegal practice, and the other half is on the various specialty areas of law. So here's where I'm going to say, why do you want to be part of the trend to become a certified paralegal? Well, the first step is up to you. These are not mandatory, they're voluntary exams. So, do you want to be an RP or a CRP? Are you willing to invest in yourself and in your career? And do you want to set yourself apart from the rest of the paralegal crowd? Because you certainly do. In Minnesota, we currently have only 6 CRPs, which is the PCCE exam in our state. There are an average of about 300 in the nation of CRPs and only 6 CRPs in Minnesota. So let's get that number up. And then of course I'm an RP because I've been doing this for a very long time, and I cheerlead for all those paralegals who strive for the stars and want to be the best they can be. So here I'm going to talk about why I believe paralegals should consider and sit for the exam. These are the benefits that I've seen over and over again across the nation at all the certification conferences I've attended of some of the reasons and benefits of being a certified paralegal. Again, it shows that you're an experienced career paralegal. We are setting our own standard of qualified paralegals. Being a PACE registered paralegal has definitely expanded my role as a paralegal in the areas and firms that I've worked for. Be a leader in the field, in the profession. And this is a definite, you get a sense of personal and professional achievement and accomplishment. Being able to have a credential behind your name, like nurses do, or doctors do, or even attorneys. It's nice to be able to put an RP behind my name rather than just simply paralegal. Being a certified paralegal validates your experience as a paralegal. You get peer recognition from others. Definitely enhances your marketability in the legal field. If you have a credential and you don't, whether you just have a paralegal degree, but you have a paralegal degree and a credential, it shows that you've taken that extra step to prove yourself, and it makes you more marketable. I truly believe this. This also may or may not be true for everyone, but it definitely helps to get the respect, the level of respect, and get you a seat at the table like I have had, and it could lead to an increase in salary because you're dedicated to your career and you're showing your employer that you are. Now I'm going to talk about all the reasons that I've heard and have been told of why individuals and paralegals don't want to go on this journey to become a certified paralegal. So they may say, I have no time to study. And you know, I get that because As paralegals, we can stay very busy depending on the practice area you are in, whether it's litigation, family law, probate and tax law. You have periods where you are just slammed with work and it's hard to make time to study. But it's not a valid reason to say, no, I don't want to go on this journey, in my opinion. There's no study group established in your area. Well, everyone's studying styles vary by each individual. Most of my studying for the PACE exam was done. I did do a study group, which I really liked. I've led study groups when I've had co-chairs as certification ambassador, but I did a lot of individual studying. When taking that study manual, highlighting, taking notes, reading it a second time, taking notes, highlighting, doing my legal terminology cards, all of those things you can do. So even if there is no formal study group established, to me, that's not a valid reason to say no. Oh, and then I'm talking about, again, a demanding job. It's a common one. Some say they don't need it, and maybe in your career you don't. But I am a big promoter of the certification exams and think you should invest in yourself, believe in yourself, and yes, maybe you do want that credential because NFPA has an emeritus status for those paralegals who retire. You can still hold that credential behind your name after retirement without having to maintain your CLE credits. I love that. No good at taking tests. Well, I myself have test anxiety. And I'll get into more of that when we go over the details of the exams itself. And then, of course, the fear of failure. That's everywhere, whether that's fear of failure that you won't pass the test or fear of failure that you won't lose weight if you're on a weight loss journey or health journey. I could go on, but be bigger than the fear. Okay, I want to be an RP. How do I get started? Well, step 1 is looking and see if you're eligible to take the PACE exam. That's step 1. Check. And then if you are not eligible, if you don't have enough experience, then you can go see if you're eligible to sit for the PCCE exam. So now we're going to dive into the pathways to be eligible to sit for the exams, starting with PACE. So again, PACE is for the experienced paralegal, and the eligibility pathway focuses on your education and years of experience. So here I've outlined the requirements for the different pathways. So a paralegal bachelor's degree or a bachelor's degree and a paralegal certificate plus 2 years of experience, you're eligible. If you have an associate's degree in paralegal studies and 6 years of experience, you're eligible, and so on. And you'll see we even have military paralegals on here, trying to get them motivated to be certified paralegals as well. Now here we are on the PCCE exam pathways. PCCE has a lot more eligibility pathways than the PACE exam, but it's always great to review because if you don't have enough experience for PACE, you can start with the PCCE. So here I've gone, and again, they look at your education and whether you need CLE credits. And this slide will go on for several more. So here you'll see that the PCCE exam has a pathway for the AOL program with the paralegal schools, and it also includes those with a high school diploma or GED. They can, if they have 5 years experience and 12 hours of CLE, including one being of ethics, in the 2 years before applying to take the PCC exam, you're eligible. Such a great deal. So be part of the trend. Focus of this presentation. Make the commitment for yourself. Invest in yourself. Being a certified paralegal and going on this journey is a very worthy goal and totally attainable to become a certified paralegal. But my caveat is it does take a lot of work and a lot of planning to be ready. It provides an honest assessment of whether you're ready to be a superstar in your profession. And it's just a personal choice and a personal goal that you set for yourself. And so I encourage you to make the decision, set the goal, and do it. So how do you get started? Once you've set the goal, step 1, order the study manual for the exam that you plan to take, whether it's PACE or PCCE, and begin studying. Most paralegals typically take 6 to 8 months of studying and preparing before submitting the application to NFPA to take the particular exam. So it's a lot of planning and work. And suggestions for what to study will be discussed later. Okay, once you have the manual and you've been studying and feel confident in where you are at and what you are studying, it's time to submit the application to NFPA. Now, once you submit that application and you get your approval letter back, you have 90 days to schedule and sit for the exam. So you want to be ready. The NFPA will send you a letter of eligibility that will allow you to schedule your exam at a Prometric testing center, and you must take that exam within 90 days from the date of that NFPA letter. And if you miss the deadline, if you are outside of that 90-day window, you'll have to pay again for taking the exam and resubmit an application. So, as a paralegal, studying to be a certified paralegal, it's all about docketing and planning and being ready and setting goals and just being ready to commit and do it. So here we are, you got your letter from the NFPA that's saying, yay, you're eligible and you're ready to schedule the exam. So that's when you call your Prometric center near you to schedule the date you're going to take the exam. And sometimes you want to leave yourself a little time before your deadline in case, like when you schedule that date at the Prometric center, maybe give yourself a little wiggle room because something might come up, like a family emergency, and you have to reschedule it, but you only have the 90-day window to do so. All right, the date of taking the exam has arrived. We want you to take a deep breath when you go into that exam room to take the exam. You want to read the questions very carefully because your limited time to take the PACE exam is 4 hours total with 200 questions, multiple choice questions. And to give you an example, when I took the exam, back in 2011, I used every minute of all 4 hours, and I had no time to go back to any question that I was guessing on. So I utilized my time very swiftly, but I did need extra time because I used all 4 hours. I know other paralegals who have passed the PACE exam who completed it in less time, like within 2 hours. But I myself took 4 hours because I do have test anxiety. The PCCE exam, on the other hand, is only 125 questions. In that exam, you are allowed 2.5 hours to take the exam. All right, you've completed taking the exam. When you hit that final button, I remember, and I hope it's the same today, they say, "Are you sure you're done?" And you have to say, "Yes." "Are you sure you want to submit?" "Yes." Submit. And then a few seconds later, words come on your screen that say whether you've passed or not passed. If you pass, if you get the message that you've passed, you won't know like what your score was, but it's just a preliminary passing. It's not the time where you can just run out of the testing center and use that credential, because NFPA does do scoring runs to weed out those bad questions, and it may adjust your overall score either up or down. So I've even had paralegals taking the exams who got that you did not pass, but they were super close to that passing score line. And when the scoring run was done, it bumped them up and they ended up passing. So you do get that message right after you hit that last submit button, but don't fear if you say it didn't pass and you don't know your total, because the scoring run that NFPA does may adjust it. Once you get your letter of approval from NFPA, at that point, it's legit, and you can use RP or CRP on your business cards, on your letterhead, because you've done it. You've achieved your goal of becoming a certified paralegal. And this is just simply to say, once you've taken the exams, you want to celebrate. If you've been studying for 4 to 6 months and you've taken the exam, I want you to celebrate, because you've done something for yourself, invested in yourself. So it clearly states there in a photo, celebrate. You earned it. So what and how do I study? Now, we've kind of gone over this previously, but the bottom line, everybody studies differently. Do what works best for you, whether that's in a group, with a partner, independent studying, using online studying resources. Any method will work. All right, first and foremost, I want you to contact me as your certification ambassador, and I can help you and feed you resources after resources on what to study to help you succeed. Whether it's helping you set up a study group, mentoring you, giving you resources, being your main point of contact about the exams and the process of applying for and taking the exam, and other resources to help you. Study manuals, read them cover to cover. Each chapter has sample questions. Again, review those questions over and over and over so you get familiar with the way the questions are outlined. There are review courses the NFPA offers. There is a cost to it, but I've heard wonderful things about the review courses if you have been out of school for a long time and you just want a refresher to help you prepare for the PACE exam. There are flashcards you can create yourself or purchase online. I purchased flashcards on Amazon, I believe, and I made my own legal terminology flashcards that I would use on taking the bus to work or on the weekends or in a car ride. I would just go over and over my legal domain cards. The federal rules of civil procedure and criminal procedure and all of that, knowing the main ones that are applied and used all the time in litigation. Key study resource. Ethics. Yes, there are a million things you could learn about ethics. And your legal research and writing books, study groups, you name it, textbooks from your legal program. And get yourself a study buddy or a mentor, or contact me and we can try to set up a study group for you, give you the tools to succeed. Remember, you can do this. Don't freak out because you can do this. I know you can. I have mentored in my 10+ years as certification ambassador and seen so many new RPs and CRPs. In fact, just in the last month, I've had a new RP and a new CRP in Minnesota, which is super exciting. The biggest hurdle, again, fear of failure, test anxiety. But remember, most people taking these exams are stressed. You've taken months to study and prepare. You could be pulling your hair out like the girl in the photo, but you can do it. I know you can. All right, now I'm going to cover the myths about PACE. I'm just going to throw them all out there. One myth is that the PACE exam is all about litigation. Well, in my entire career as a paralegal, I've been in the estate planning probate area, and I passed the exam. It's not all about litigation. The exam is not long enough to adequately test competency. That's a myth because the exam is not super easy. It's challenging selecting the best answer, and I think it is very valuable. The exam was written by attorneys and is virtually impossible to pass. Well, that right there is false. You can know that's a myth because there are hundreds of PACE registered paralegals across the nation. Clues in some answers that will give answers to others. Well, no. Remember, the tests have a distractor. There's no all of the above or none of the above options. It's all about your critical and analytical thinking on federal law and finding the best answer that fits in all circumstances. So, exam is too expensive. Well, that could be something that you can ask your employer to support, or the MPA does offer scholarships, as does NFPA, for you to apply for. Minnesota's scholarships for these exams is typically sent out in late summer, August sometime, between August and September, and then the winners are announced at the fall gathering, which is typically in October of each year. Okay, now we're going to go over some sample questions so you can get a feel for how the questions are outlined and help you to practice over and over and over again. So here we go. Okay, sample question number 1. Now this is your federal rules to calculate a due date. A, start counting on the date the relevant document was received. B, do not count weekends. C, check local rules and statutes to determine which rule is used. Or D, count weekends. So, when they're very precise, like do not count or count weekends, it's likely probably not either of those. Knowing what date to start counting on is important. So I'm looking at A or C. What do you think? Give you a few minutes. The best answer is C. Check local rules and statutes to determine which rule is to be used. Okay, sample question 2. If asked the chance of recovery during a client interview, the paralegal should do what? A, refer the question to the attorney. B, answer the question honestly. C, avoid answering the question. Or D, tell the client that the answer requires legal research. So it's asking you what a paralegal should do if a client asks, what's the chance of recovery during that initial interview? So, I think the distractor is to answer the question honestly. Because paralegals cannot give legal advice, so you cannot tell them what the chance of recovery is. It also would feel odd to avoid answering the question, changing the subject. So I would strike out C as an option. So either A or D. What is your best guess? What do you think is the best answer? Okay, the best answer is A. Refer the question to your attorney. And you can tell the client that that's what you will do. The client will need to provide that legal advice. Okay, sample question 3. This is a legal research and writing type question. So a client is being sued in the USDC for an alleged violation of a federal statute. So federal statute, key point. To locate case law, another key point, case law, interpreting the statute, the paralegal would consult. Now this is your legal resources, A, B, C, or D. So knowing what each of those publications are and what they provide you when you utilize them. So the first one I would strike out would be the Martindale-Hubbell, because that provides a list of attorneys across the nation. The answer D, American Jurisprudence, that's an encyclopedia. So that probably will not give you case law interpreting a federal statute. So A or B. The CFR is a Code of Federal Regulations, so that's more like government agency law. So the best answer is A, the U.S. Code Annotated. That provides federal statutes and case law in that publication. So knowing your various legal resources is very important. So the answer is A. Oh, here is sample question 4, and it kind of goes over ethics. Paralegal whose firm is representing a celebrity. and who informs a neighbor of that fact has violated what? Work product doctrine, conflict of interest rules, confidentiality rules, attorney-client privilege. Well, we're talking about ethics, so I don't think it's a work product doctrine. So A is your distractor. You can strike that one. Conflicts of interest are typically done before clients are hired, or you accept representation of that client based on your conflict of interest rules. So the two answers that may fit would be C or D. So the paralegal working at a firm, the firm is representing the celebrity, and the paralegal informs a neighbor. So what is she violating, he or she? I think the best answer is C. Okay, this is question sample number 5. Kind of talks about family law matters. The entry of termination of marital status only and reserving all other issues for later determination is known as, so here's where your legal terminology skills would come into play to figure out the best answer. So this is the last one. I have 10 sample questions. This is the last one where I'm going to tell you what I believe is the best answer. The last 5 we'll go over, but I'm not going to give the answer. You'll have to contact me to see if you're right. It's a way for you to practice and learn. So knowing what adjudication is, knowing what bifurcation is, knowing what jurisdictional means, and what reformation means. In your dividing up, what's in an order? So the best answer is B, bifurcation. Okay, here we go on the last 5. Sample question 6 talks about contracts and docketing deadlines. So I'll let you read through it. And it's asking when the effective date of the contract would be. So knowing when to start counting, what counts as service, and the effective date when you're dealing with contract law. Okay, sample question number 7 deals with business law and throws in some ethics questions to analyze what's going on in this situation involving corporate law. And just notice how the question, the multiple choice questions, the way how they're worded, some of the terms that are used in it. Good luck. And here's sample question 8, dealing with ethics and confidentiality. I can't wait to see how many people contact me to find the best answer. Remember, be confident, you've got this. Okay, sample question 9 deals with litigation discovery, knowing what some of the terms are. So again, legal terminology. If you know what each of the answers what they mean, you'll get the best answer. Paralegal is trying to obtain financial records about the opposing party in a lawsuit. Which document should she be preparing? You got this. And here's the final sample question 10. Dealing with ethics, complex checks. It's so fun reviewing these because it's my passion and it's what we do every day. So keeping our minds alert and knowing the processes, the procedures, you become an expert. And being a certified paralegal shows that to your legal community, that you're an expert and dedicated to your career. And remember, it is possible to pass if you prepare for it. Very good reminder. So, again, I'm Tina Johnson. I'm your certification ambassador. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. The email is there, certification@mnparalegals.org. And I will do my best in getting back to you as soon as you send me the email. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope to see a lot more paralegals striving for certification. Thank you.